everybody. Welcome to 2020. Aren't you glad, or 2021, aren't you glad 2020 is finally over? I like to think that it's a new year and that it's going to be a lot better than last year, which is really not setting the bar all that high. But today I wanted to go live and talk to you about how to become a more prolific author in 2021. For a lot of authors, 2020 was actually a very prolific year because of everything that was going on. A lot of people were at home more, were learning to write more, were kind of upping their game. But a lot of people also weren't. There was a lot of people who had a stressful year, right? That's kind of the understatement of the century. And so it was difficult for some people, which is totally understandable. So I want to start by asking you a couple of questions. I want you to think right now about how quickly you wrote your last book, or you could even think of it as an average. How long is it taking you right now to get a book written? Is it taking you a month, several months, a year? It doesn't matter. This is a no judgment zone, but how long is it taking you to write a single book? Just think about it in your head. You can comment what it is if you want, if you feel comfortable doing that, but just hold that number in your head, however long it takes you. And what I want to ask is, are you okay with how long it is taking you to write one of your books? If you could choose, would you be okay writing at that pace for the rest of your life, for the rest of your books that you write? Are you okay earning what you're making right now on your fiction books, on the amount of royalties you're making? Are you okay with that? So just hold that in your mind and think about it. If the answer is no, then it seems to me that you need to step up your game a little bit in 2021, right? And we all know, being authors, that pretty much the biggest way to step up our game is to become more prolific, right? To write more, to market more, and to, just kind of plug into our business more. But the bedrock, the foundation of that is just to be a more prolific author, right? Okay, so that's what I'm going to talk about today, are some different areas that you need to cover in order to become a little bit more prolific in 2021 than you were in 2020. Now, depending on you and how much you want to improve and how quickly you're already writing, you may be able to improve a lot in 2021, but you also may just need to make some small nuance changes, and that's fine too. All right, so let's get into this. The three areas that I think that you need to master in order to become more prolific are these. Let me put them up on the screen for you. You need to, first of all, master your 3 tiers. And I'm going to talk about what these are. But if you were to boil everything down, everything about becoming a fiction author down into these 3 areas, and you could master them, you'd be golden. You'd have your career set for life, right? Now, of course, that is oversimplifying it a little bit, because each of these areas have a lot of different moving parts that need to be mastered. But still, to make it simple, to boil it down, these are what you need to master. You need to master your story. You often hear in the author community that the best marketing you can do is to write a book and then write another book, right? Because people love series. That's the best way to draw in your readers. And the more familiar they are with the world you're writing, with the characters, with your voice, the more they're going to come back to it, the more they're going to, feel like it's a part of who they are. So of course, that's true, that the best marketing you can do is to write another book. But I'm going to take it a step further and say that the best writing or the best marketing you can do is to write a great book and then write another great book. Because there are, unfortunately, a lot of authors today that are uploading books to Amazon, and those books aren't selling. And a lot of these authors are really kind of confused as to why they're not selling, because they might even have a really clean manuscript and a really great cover and a really great blurb, and they're kind of doing everything right. But if the writing is a little bit lacking, that's probably why. Okay, so you need to really master your story. You need to make sure that you're getting everything into that story, that will, all of the elements to make it a potential bestseller, so that you're writing a stellar book every single time. Okay, and I call that just mastering your story. And it's always amazing to me the number of people who are selling books today who have not bothered to master their story. The second tier that you need to master is mastering your words, which just means developing a daily writing habit. Now, I know that not everybody can write daily, so this is going to sound like a little bit of a contradiction, but Developing a daily writing habit does not necessarily mean you have to write daily. That's just kind of what I call it. But what it means is writing any day that you can without excuse, and also developing your habit to the point where you can sit down and write anytime, okay? Because it's just something you do. You can train your brain to do that. Training your brain is no different than training your body, okay? It's not going to happen overnight, and it's not always easy if you're not there right now, but you can train your brain to write daily, or as close to daily as it's possible in your life, whatever season you're in, to write. And people who are going to be long-term authors and make a career of this and live off their royalties, trust me, they have a daily writing habit in place, okay? The third tier, you can probably guess, is mastering your marketing. You need to know what kinds of marketing you should be doing, and maybe more importantly, what you shouldn't be doing based on how many books you have out, okay? Because your marketing looks really, really different when you only have one book versus when you have like 10 books, okay? So that's another thing that you need to master. So in order to become more prolific in 2021, you need to master those 3 tiers. Now, of course, that's easier said than done. There's a lot that you have to do to master each of those tiers. But if you can write those down and just sort of start working toward that, you're automatically going to be ahead of the curve when it comes to being more prolific in 2021. Okay, so that's the first thing you need to do, is master your tiers. The second thing is to put repeatable systems in place. This is something that not many authors do that I've spoken to. Honestly, the most successful ones, the ones that are making 6 figures, definitely do. But there's this myth about, there's kind of, it's sort of like the myth of the starving artist. There are all these myths around being an author and how, you know, you need to just go where your muse takes you and, you know, write whenever, you know, whenever the whim seizes you, that sort of thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm really not passing judgment on that. But any entrepreneur, whether they're a writer or an entrepreneur in another market, they know that the only way to make a business out of something, okay, so we're not talking about dabbling, we're talking about people who want to live off their royalties, off their writing, and make an actual living at this. You have to put systems in place that are repeatable, okay? And I'm not talking about, you know, the writing itself. I'm not talking about writing the same story over and over, or writing a, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not talking about writing a predictable story. I'm talking about systems to get the writing done, systems to get the marketing done, okay? You need to put these into place. You need to figure out what it is for you. I'm also a big proponent of planning, obviously, scheduling and batching content, okay? We don't have to get too much into what that is, but if you have a lot of things to do outside of writing, you know, we all know we have to do like newsletters, grow our email list, do our marketing, do our ads, all of that. It is best to batch that stuff, get it all done at once. And also just to schedule it into your calendar, okay? If you're just hoping you can find time this month to do that, we all know the chances of that actually happening, especially with all the craziness going on in the world, are not good. So if you can, you know, sit down, figure out what you need to get done, in whatever length of time works for you. I wouldn't do daily. I would do weekly or monthly. I've actually sat down and batched content for social media for a year at a time, okay? And yeah, it takes a while. It takes, you know, maybe 4 hours, but then I have a schedule. I know what I'm going to do, and I'm not guessing or sitting at my computer day in and day out trying to figure out what I'm going to post, right? Batch it early, get it figured out. You can always change it if you need to. Just because you schedule something doesn't mean it's set in stone. But if you do this, again, you'll be ahead of the curve when it comes to being a prolific author. Because if you can get that stuff done all together in one place, then you have all the rest of the time to focus on writing an amazing story for your readers. And finally, the third thing I'm going to tell you is to be intentional, okay? Set yourself up for success. Now, that may not sound very actionable, but I promise that it is. Don't just do the minimum that is required to get something done. One of the ways you can be intentional is what I just talked about. Schedule things, batch things, set yourself up so that you know that it's going to get done, not so that you're hoping you'll find time to get it done, okay? There's a big difference there. Be intentional about everything. Figure out what you need to succeed. So one example of this would be, let's say that you have X amount of books for sale, and you can, you know, dig out your calculator and figure out how much you make per book sale, per book, right? And then figure out how much you want to make on your royalties per month and do the division. If you're making $3 a book, and this is like super simple math, just, you know, for the sake of the example, if you're making $3 on your book and you want to make $3,000 a month, you got to have $1,000 in sales. Now that sounds super simple and super obvious, and it is, but that gives you a jumping off point, okay, so that you know exactly what you need to do to reach the income level that you want to. So then you can say, okay, how can I make 1,000 sales? How can I get 1,000 downloads? And then you can start looking into things like BookBub or paid ads, or selling to your email list, or whatever the case may be. But that's what I mean about being intentional. Figure out what it's going to take and then do it. Be intentional about working toward what you want to do. Most authors out there, the vast majority, write a book, throw it up on Amazon, and just hope for the best. Okay, that's fine, I guess, if that's what lights you up, but that is not going to lead you to living off your royalties. Okay, that is not going to lead to a sustainable and lucrative author business, which I think is what most of us want here, right? Okay, so you need to be intentional and you need to be very proactive about what you're going to do. I know that looks different for every author depending on how many books you have and what your life looks like and all of that. But if you can sit down and put together a plan that you are being intentional, put systems in place that are predictable for you, to get your work done, to get your writing done, and of course work toward mastering those 3 tiers, that's what's going to help you be much, much more prolific in 2021. Okay, so that is pretty much what I have for you today. I would love if you would just sit down, think about this, maybe make some plans for 2021 if you haven't already. And yeah, hit me up either in the comments or wherever you're watching this, and let me know what you're planning, what you got out of this, what your biggest takeaway was, or what you need help with. I would love to be able to help you with anything that you need help with. So yeah, this was just kind of a quick live to welcome everyone into 2021. Couple of things before I go. Make sure I will put links to these in below the video, but I have a couple of freebies that you can take advantage of. They are totally free to you, just to help you out. One of them is the Ultimate Villainy Checklist, which gives the functions and kind of attributes that a good villain should have to be unforgettable and to function well in your story. The other is the 9 essential plot points to help you write a page-turning story. It's kind of a story beats sort of thing, but it's my proprietary blend that I use to write every single book. So I will put those links down below. If you have not joined our Facebook community, it is called The Prolific Author. You can join anytime. We would love to see you, and we can help each other in there, hash out ideas and just kind of share our author journeys so that we can all rise together and make sure that we're all succeeding in 2021. And if you want help in any of these areas, in a more one-on-one way, I am taking clients, so feel free to contact me via DM or in the comments. Either way, you can tag me and we can hop on a call and see if I can help you out with that. Okay, so I want to wish you all best of luck in your writing in 2021. I was just talking with a fellow author, and for some reason this week it has been hard for me to get kind of back into the swing of things, back into the routines. And when I talked to her, she said she was having the same problem. So I was glad that I was not alone in that. But we're getting back into it. We're into 2021, we're past the holidays, and now is the time to really start building toward your author career and your success and writing those amazing stories that only you can write, because I promise there are people out there who desperately need them. Okay, so I will see you in the Facebook group or around, and yeah, happy writing. Bye.